think this is really criminal activity, considering that this man, Ackerson, and particularly Cadillac division of GM, and GM is assisting and abetting a entity, the Chinese Communist Party, not the Chinese people, the Chinese Communist Party, that initiated a war and killed and assisted in killing thousands of our troops in war throughout, and then through Vietnam War, and then through the war in Indonesia and in Cambodia. And this has not stopped, and they're killing their own people. So it is reprehensible. But once again, we're going back to the fact that we have civilian leaders who are in cahoots with your big politicians. Politicians didn't stop this. This had to come out of the Washington Times. Not one Republican stood up. Not one Democrat stood up. Not Mike Levin, a senator from Michigan, to say cease and desist. There is absolutely no political consciousness in our country or sense of patriotism where there's a sense of what's appropriate and not appropriate. This is totally, completely inappropriate and borders on treason.
Well, they're doing it on purpose. They're doing it on purpose to set the precedent, just like TSA, groping one-year-old children and grabbing their genitals in front of their parents. They can get away with that. The sky's the limit. Now, I want to just go through these host of issues that you've raised. Now we've had another week in the aftermath. We've had a U.S. helicopter go into Pakistan, a shootout. General Hamid Gul said there's no doubt now that there's a move towards starting some new war with them. Ron Paul has come out today and said the scuttlebutt is there is moves in Congress and discussions about some type of occupation of Pakistan. It's now come out in the big Pakistani papers that reported CIA agent was trying to get uranium and other weapons to al-Qaeda groups they control to frame Pakistan. And General Gul said, look, we don't want to be driven into the arms of the Russians or the Chinese, but that's what this is doing. And during the break, when I first got you on, you said there's no doubt now that that's what this raid is about internationally. So Dr. Pieczenik, I mean, you worked over there. You met bin Laden. You worked in overthrowing the Russians, driving them out. What's your view on what's happening now that we have more hindsight?
Let me say what I said a week ago and all. I go back to, and I go to the singular individual. I go to the respect of the Secretary of Defense, Gates, who said it very clearly today. We have embarrassed the Pakistani military. It's enough, and we should go on. The issue that happened with Pakistan and the actual raid, we're not talking about Osama bin Laden. I told you he's been dead for 10 years. But the raid was a PSYOPs operation to basically embarrass the ISI into basically getting out of the business of controlling the government of Pakistan, whose president is Gilani. Gilani and the civil government in Pakistan cannot handle the Inner Service Intelligence Agency. Yesterday and the day before, the head of ISI resigned and saying, I can no longer function. What I think this raid is about, I was not told, was, and I think Gates has said it very clearly, that we have embarrassed the Pakistani ISI, that basically they want a civilian government in Pakistan. China has moved in effect, to help the Pakistani, but I do not believe, again, I will reiterate, I do not believe we will occupy Pakistan. We do not have the capability. We don't have the desire. And once again, Gates reported, and correctly so, and we've known this for a long time in the national security arena, we cannot fight 2.5 wars anymore. Our force structure in America was geared for 2.5 wars. That is, one war in the Atlantic, one war on the Pacific, and then a half a war somewhere wherever we need it. We cannot do that anymore because of budget constraints. And we go back to the key issue, Alex, as you said repeatedly, our biggest national security problem is not Osama bin Laden, who's been dead, or al-Qaeda, which is a Haqqani group. It's really our debt and our ceiling and the fact that we are financially in serious trouble. There isn't one general or one intelligence officer that will disagree with what I'm about to say, that our debt and our financial crisis is really the national security problem. The issue in Pakistan was that the ISI Pakistani did not want to control the Haqqani group, that's Haqqani, who basically have created al-Qaeda representatives in Afghanistan and have been using their surrogates and members of the Haqqani group to really incite a confrontation not only with American troops in Afghanistan, which the Americans said cease and desist, but with India. It's the issue.
All right, stay there. Stay there, Dr. Pieczenik. I want to come back with a host of other issues straight ahead.
Spring and a new growing season are here. Plan a healthy garden easy and fast with organicaseed.com. Easy because organicaseed.com offers one of the largest online selections of organic, heirloom, non-hybrid, and untreated seeds, as well as tobacco and cotton seeds at low prices. Go to organicaseed.com, spelled O-R-G-A-N-I-C-A, seed.com. Organicaseed.com. Remember, Organica Seed is healthy seed.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Hello, friends. This is Alex Jones. The earthquake, tsunami, and nuclear disaster that killed thousands of Japanese citizens is nothing compared to the devastation that could be caused by hyperinflation that will soon hit the United States and could lead to millions of Americans becoming homeless, all caused by the devalued U.S. dollar. While the mainstream media continues to ignore inflation, our friends at the National Inflation Association provide a free weekly newsletter that educates Americans to the facts and truth about the U.S. economy and inflation. I urge you to sign up at the NIA's free newsletter at www.inflation.us to learn how you can not only survive, but prosper during the upcoming hyperinflation crisis. Silver has more than doubled since the NIA declared silver the best investment for the next decade on inflation.us. The NIA's team of expert economists are happy to answer any economic questions you have about inflation, debt, currencies, real estate, precious metals, and commodities. Visit inflation.us to learn the economic truth that the mainstream media ignores.
Big Berkey water filters are in high demand. Storable foods are also in high demand. BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com has always kept our focus on the Berkey water filter products, but increasingly, our customers have been asking for storable foods. After months of research, BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com now offers great tasting, long-lasting, storable foods. These ready-to-eat meals are packed in airtight nitrogen pouches. All you do is just add water, and because they're sealed so well, they come with a 25-year shelf life. Combine our Berkey water filters, which are powerful enough to purify treated, untreated, or even stagnant pond water with our storable foods, and you have a winning combination. Remember, we offer free shipping on every order over $50, and GCN listeners receive 5% off all ceramic filter systems. Visit BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com or call 877-99-BERKEY. That's BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com or call 877-99-BERKEY today.
Hi, this is Alex Jones. Did you know that the global elite are now storing non-hybrid seeds in secret storage vaults near the Arctic Circle? Did you know that in a real meltdown, non-hybrid seeds can become more valuable than silver or gold? It's true, seeds have outperformed even gold and silver before in this country, and it's possible that could even happen again. So our friends at Solutions from Science have put together the perfect mix of non-hybrid seeds. They call it a survival seed bank, and it can produce an endless supply of nutrient-dense food for you and your family. And here's the best part. These seeds have not been genetically modified in any way, and you actually get enough seeds to plant a full-acre crisis garden. So visit them today at survivalseedbank.com. That's survivalseedbank.com, or give them a call at 877-327-0365. That's 877-327-0365. Remember, in a real crisis, non-hybrid seeds are the ultimate barter item. This is Alex Jones for survivalseedbank.com. Dr. Steve Pieczenik is our guest. We're covering the waterfront today. I wanted to, in this short segment, Doctor, and we'll get into a bunch of other issues, look at Obama's speech that he just finished up about an hour ago. For those that just joined us, the president came out and, well, here's the headline. Palestinian state must be based on 1967 borders. That's just more talk, and they put it into the process, status quo. But he went on to say these revolutions are great, these revolutions are wonderful, and named Libya, where we know it's Western-backed, and the core group in there is al-Qaeda. and we have former al-Qaeda leaders on record who were fighting U.S. troops in Iraq. Regardless of what you think of these wars, this is a schizophrenic policy that they're engaged in. We're fighting al-Qaeda in Pakistan, but this is good al-Qaeda over here. But meanwhile, right on time, Osama bin Laden speaks from the grave. Another audio tape from the cache they found, over 1 million documents where they can just make up and project whatever they want, Dr. Pieczenik. And he agrees that these uprisings are great. What is the whole point of this, obviously, latest new fake tape being put out?
Well, the new fake tape is, once again, the issue, as I said. Osama bin Laden has been dead for 10 years. So basically what I think their point is, as the raid was, or whatever the raid was constituted, was to basically say to those al-Qaeda members around the world, or those who still fear the United States or might fear the United States, that there is information in here that we can pursue you, we know where you are, and at the same time it's intended to embarrass the Pakistani ISI, Inter Service Intelligence Agency, to say, this is where the man lived. He lived right near your military institute, and how come you didn't do anything about it? It's a way of our pulling out of Pakistan, not to create a war. We don't need a war now. We can't fight a war. And literally try to transfer the power into the civilian area. But what you said about Obama is that he is not in control of the foreign policy, nor would you expect him to be in control. Many of his members of the national security are civilians who've had very little experience. Donlan, as I said before, is a lobbyist for Fannie Mae. That's your national security advisor. And the one he relies on is a guy named Dennis Ross, who worked for me 20, 30 years ago. Totally ineffectual individual who worked for both Republicans and Democrats, has no history of any accomplishments other than self-aggrandizement and the ability to egregiously get himself into situations where more talented people than himself, like Danny Kurtzer and others who worked for Bush, and other Aaron Miller and others people I know, are far more talented than he is. So you have very incompetent, exceedingly incompetent individuals, including Hillary Clinton, who really has no idea what the national security issues are, nor the strategy. The fact that the young kids are protesting is not an issue that was initiated by the United States. Tunisia was spontaneous. Egypt was assisted by the U.S. government, but we had military-to-military contact. So I do congratulate our military on that, particularly our Army, where they did maintain control over the Egyptian riots and were able to maintain a stabilized situation. But in fact, what remains in Egypt and in Libya and elsewhere is really military force structures. In other words, whatever is related to our military. The real issue for us in right now is Syria is toppling over. Syria has never been a real ally of us. Bashir Assad is a physician. He's an ophthalmologist. I was interrogated by Syrian officials a couple of years ago for 5-6 hours.
No, I saw in major news reports that even previous to that, don't you know, was it the senior or the junior Assad?
The senior, I knew the senior Assad, whom I had worked against repeatedly over 20, 30 years. He was a vicious, exceedingly dangerous man who had created a lot of terrorist episodes, and every time we came close to a peace treaty in the Middle East, he could create incidences where people were just killed, and he initiated wars against Israel, and basically was a really evil man. He killed 10 to 20,000 so-called Muslims in Hama, and he had no qualms about it. Now, his son is very ineffectual. The people who are protesting, I encourage them. They're in Aleppo, Hama, Homs, Latakia. These are wonderful people. 30% of Syria country, who most people don't realize are Christians. The rest are Sunni, Shiite, Druze. The northern part of Syria is Kurds. The Kurds are now separating from Iraq, which I agree with. The Kurds are separating from Syria, which I agree with. And so Bashir Assad either has to go. He must go. And I do agree with the administration putting on an embargo on it, but we should pull our ambassador out, and our military will not be engaged in this. This is an issue that Bashir Assad has to deal internally.
All right, stay there, Doc. We got to go to break. We're going to come back and continue looking at geopolitical issues. Then you want to talk about Schwarzenegger.
We're on the march. The empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.